Now that Apple announced their new phones, everybody is focusing on all the specs and updates of the iPhone 13s, completely ignoring the big features that were leaked, patented, and more that we were looking forward to. And I'm also really excited for these phones, and some of these features aren't big deals, but others would have been amazing to have, and Apple is likely saving them for the iPhone 13 models next year so that we have another reason to upgrade. So let's go ahead and go over all of them, including some really weird limitations of the iPhone 13. The first one is the notch. Apple has changed it for the first time ever and now made it more narrow this year, so much so that it's actually slightly taller. Overall, it is 20% smaller, which gives us a bit more screen real estate, especially on the right and left side of the notch. Unfortunately, for some reason, they aren't making any use of this extra space, and we are still limited to seeing a less detailed battery indicator and having to swipe down into Control Center to see the percentage when there is clearly enough space to add this info or at least something else. Hopefully, Apple will fix this with a software update and allow us to make use of that extra space that we are paying for by having a taller notch this year compared to previous ones. Now we have another authentication method not only rumored for the iPhone 13 but backed up by 2 patents that Apple received, and that is the Underdisplay fingerprint scanner. Face ID is amazing and very convenient, but there are times that fingerprint scanners work better and some people just prefer them. Info came out that Apple actually tested iPhone 13s with in-screen Touch ID, but as we know, the iPhone 13s didn't end up receiving them. It seems like Apple is still planning on implementing this, but only for future iPhones, and that they decided to work on under-display Face ID for the higher end iPhones and to use under-display Touch ID for the lower end models once they get rid of the notch. So if you're somebody that wanted Touch ID in a Pro iPhone, it likely won't ever happen. Another thing that likely won't ever happen is getting a better port on the iPhones. We had rumors of USB Type-C coming to iPhone Pros a while ago, and to make it line up with their other devices like the MacBooks and the iPads, but nope, Apple is still sticking with Lightning, all while at the same time changing even their second cheapest iPad to USB Type-C. By this point, we can pretty much bet that USB Type-C will never hit iPhones, or else Apple would have done it by now, but the other rumor also didn't show, and that is the portless iPhone 13, at least on the largest Pro Max model. A completely wireless iPhone was apparently planned for the highest end iPhone in 2021, and it would make sense to start out with the Pro model, but it looks like Apple is holding off, which I'm personally really happy about because of another thing that unfortunately didn't come to light with the iPhone 13s, which I was really looking for, and that is better MagSafe connectivity and charging. Not only did we get rumors of this, but actual FCC filings which reveal a new MagSafe unit. Now, the filing doesn't give us too much info, but Apple did test it with both 20 watt and 30 watt adapters. As we know, if you're using a 20 watt adapter with the current MagSafe puck, you will achieve a max output of 15 watts, so about a 75% efficiency. So with 30 watts, that would give us 22.5 watts or possibly even up to 25 watt wireless fast charging if they improve the efficiency with the new coil. Now that would make it even faster than using a wired charger, and that would be enough to make a fully wireless iPhone possible. But unfortunately, nope. We are still stuck with Lightning instead of USB Type-C, and even though the battery inside of the 13 Pro Max is 18% larger than last year's, even the wired 20 watt adapter can no longer charge the phone to 50% in 30 minutes, MagSafe charging isn't any faster like it was rumored to be. So at this point, it will take more than twice as long to wirelessly fast charge the 13 Pro Max than with using a wire charger. With that, the first reviews are coming out, and the newer, stronger MagSafe magnets are nowhere to be seen in these new iPhone 13s. Now this is something that I was really excited for so that I would have a stronger grip for my wallet with the 13s and to hold my phone up better with my MagSafe mounts for my car and my truck, and the stronger magnets would be very helpful because these new iPhones have gotten a lot heavier than last year. The smaller 13 Pro with its 6.1 inch display now weighs the same exact as the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra with its 6.9 inch display. That thing is big, and the Pro Max is now getting closer to the Fold 3. meaning that they will have a harder time holding on to mounted accessories. Thankfully, cases can help, like this new slim 13 Pro Max carbon fiber case from Pitaka, which I've been testing with my 12 Pro Max that kind of fits, and the slim magnets that are in here are incredibly strong, the strongest I've ever seen. Now, they're not a sponsor or anything like that, but I'll go ahead and link them down in the video description. The next missing feature that should have come out with the iPhone 13s is the always-on display. Android phones have had this feature for years, and many have been expecting this since the iPhones have gotten OLED screens, which was the iPhone 10, but nope. This year was special though, because Apple switched to a more power efficient LTPO screen that can now go all the way down to 10 Hz, saving a lot of battery life. And with that, battery sizes have also gotten a lot larger, and the A15 and the new modem chip are also more power efficient, so this year would have been perfect to add an always-on display, but of course they didn't do that. Even though Apple has offered this for a few years now with their Apple Watches, and with the Series 7 it gets even brighter indoors, they do not want to add this. And this is a software feature, so they could add it, but Apple just doesn't want to. My guess is that's just one more thing they're adding and keeping for the iPhone 14, since this year we got a lot of incremental updates, including that 120Hz ProMotion display. The next feature is something that was huge news before the 13's launch, and it was a feature that would set the iPhone apart from any other smartphone, and that is support for satellite connectivity. Kuo and Bloomberg both reported on this being a feature that could allow you to connect in places without cellular connectivity. Now, I've found myself in this spot many times, and it truly does suck, especially if you have an emergency. And this would allow you to send messages through satellite when you have no service at all. Now, some people say this could be a feature that Apple just didn't talk about because it's not ready yet. The hardware's there, but it's not enabled. Personally, I think if it was there, Apple would talk about it and they would say this is coming in the future, because this would be a killer feature. So I think this is gonna have to be something that's gonna come out in the iPhone 14 or later, once Apple has their own modems ready. With that, we have Wi-Fi 6E, which would have been great even if it was available for just the Pro models. Samsung's S21 Ultra has support for it, even though it came out about 9 months ago, and it allows for the new 6 GHz band to be used along with the standard 2.4 and 5 GHz bands. Almost everybody has Wi-Fi routers now, so there is so much traffic going around that you can have interference with each other and slowdowns, and this new band would be like getting an open freeway while everybody else is in stop and go traffic. And since most people keep their phones for years, it would have been great to see it in these new iPhones, but nope. And the same thing goes for Bluetooth. While the S21 Ultra has Bluetooth 5.2 now, which has many improvements, iPhone is still stuck on Bluetooth 5.0 that uses more power, has more interference issues, and lacks new features. One thing we really wanted to see is an implementation of lossless audio over wireless, since Apple has been really pushing lossless with Apple Music, and the quality difference over Spotify made me sign up for Apple Music again. We know it's possible because Qualcomm showed off their lossless audio over Bluetooth with aptX lossless, but of course Apple doesn't support the previous aptX codec either, so they would need to make their own solution. But if they are sticking to Bluetooth 5.0 hardware again and again, there simply isn't the hardware there to allow this to happen, and that means that the upcoming AirPods 3 will not support lossless either, so we will have to wait. Now, one feature that we know is there but we are not allowed to use is reverse wireless charging. Now, I was thinking that Apple would finally allow us to use it outside of the MagSafe battery pack since we have larger batteries this year, but nope, not yet. Let's hope that with those AirPods 3 they will roll out a software update to finally let us utilize it, because that could be something that is very handy. The last ones are cameras. Apple made a huge deal about them at their event. They spent so much time on the larger sensors, the new lenses, the new software, but the selfie camera was completely unchanged. Now, personally, I would love to have a cut down version of the center stage cameras that they are putting into most of their tablets now, even the cheapest basic iPad 9. So something that offers a wider field of view when you need it, and that can also crop in for selfies and FaceTime. The 12 megapixel camera and the lens are identical to the iPhone 12s, so let's hope that the Smart HDR4 will make a big enough difference to catch Apple up to Samsung, which has been killing them lately in selfie quality. Now, we will know soon enough, as soon as we get our hands on the iPhone 13s this Friday, and we will put the cameras to the test in our blind camera comparisons, which are always a ton of fun, and they are completely unbiased. So if you guys want to see that, click that circle above to subscribe, and with that you guys can help us reach our goal of 1 million subscribers. We would greatly appreciate it. Go ahead and check out one of those great videos right over there. This has been Max, and I will see you in the next video.